China Uber Alice is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito Ramen and Japanese Tapas on 41st in Capitola. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen and tapas dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum. Welcome to China Uber Alice. I'm Bill Graff, along with Nan Su from the Epoch Times and Amy Howe, who is a communist re-education camp survivor. We have a great program for you today. Nan Su's going to tell us what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone, and Billy and Amy. We have an exciting program that we are going to discuss. So we're going to discuss about the recent interview of CNN host interviewing our President Joe Biden. And then during the interview, and President Biden basically said he understood why Chairman Xi in China is persecuting Uyghurs, why there were so many human rights violations conducted by the Chinese Communist regime. And he understood all that. I don't know why he said that. We're going to play, later in the program, we are going to play what our president say, and we're going to discuss about that. And of course, at the same time, we need to think about why our president spoke about the China policy that way, whose interest he's representing. We are going to also talk about the AT&T. Now, think about that. AT&T actually sent a letter to our federal administration, ask them to remove China Telecom. China Telecom, by the way, it's a company that involved in all kind of human rights violations in Xinjiang area. They're related to China's military. So AT&T want the federal administration to remove the China Telecom from the blacklist of Commerce Department. Now think about this. Why? And I mean, this is the corporate interest that's really driving our China policy. You know, when we talk about our China policy, we need to understand our China policy from the angle. This China policy represent the corporate interest, or the China policy is really representing the pockets of every one of us, the middle class, the working class. We need to talk about that. So that's what we're going to discuss today. But of course, before we run into all those interesting discussions, we're going to first have our usual segment from Amy Howe. Amy spent more than a decade of time in the re-education camp because of the Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao in China. So, Amy, what are you going to bring us today?
Yeah, today I'm going to talk about the ration. You know, food ration. And Billy and Nan, do you know which country still use the ration in this moment?
No idea.
Only one country, Cuba. 2019, and I'll visit Cuba. They still use ration and those stamps for the basic food. Also use two different currency. It's like before in China, you know, because they have a lot of American money go into. So use American money, there's special store. Use that money, you can buy meat and good stuff. And,
just like olden day China.
Yeah, China have a two currency. So the Cuban currency, they only ration, only pay that, you know, like those stamps you buy, bean, rice, you know, basic stuff. So I talking about, I live in China for 30 years, and basically all in this ration, food ration and environment. So those things is probably right now, after 30 years, lots of people in China, they don't know anything about that, young generations, but they never use that. But before we would grow up, just everything. It's really not much, like a 35-pound rice per person. They give you the stamps.
No, no. Wait a minute. You still need to use the money, but that is just the quota.
Yeah.
That's how much rice you can buy. You still have to use the money to buy it.
One family, like 1 pound of egg per family per month.
Wow.
Yeah, and the meat is by ounce, and that like 3 ounce per person per month.
Yeah, you can.
Oil too.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Everything by.
I remember those
still
days.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember. Well, by the way, you can go sell those coupons in the black market. If you don't consume them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's how I want to talk about the story. It's my personal story. Actually, another sad story. I have the godparents. I don't know here. Translate to English, basically probably talking about like a religion guidance on it. But in China, very common, basically like a mentorship. Mm-hmm. You have my parents will choose a couple as my godparents, and to responsible for my upbringings, usually like setting up the mentorship. So my godparents, the godfather is a doctor and a very good surgeon. He was a graduate from the American school at Zhenjiang University in Shanghai. And his wife is a nurse. Also is very, very nice woman. They both are Christian. So they are my godparents. But during the Cultural Revolution, I already left in 1969, and they were suffering. They being criticized and then accused my godfather is American spy, because he in the X-ray home, the room, and he spoke used a medical term. He used an English term. Talked to his co-workers, they other doctors. So they accused him of doing some spy work. I mean. And I then put him in the place and basically starving him to death, And my godmother, she's such a nice woman, and she's nice to everybody. Everybody, if have a newborn baby, she always go there helping, and then teach the new parents how to bathing the baby, everything. Very nice woman. And so they said that they're going to criticize her. And she's a very proud woman also. Just, I think the dignity, is the most important for her. So, and that night, the night before, they're going to have the bigger meeting to criticize her, and she commits suicide, hang herself. So before she did that, I was in commute, so the labor camp. She knew I constantly had no food, so she saved those ration, the food stamps, the rice stamps. Each month is just 1 or 2 pounds, and so she put it together a bundle. So the night before she hanged herself, she threw that bundle of the ration and coupons and in back of my mother's dresser, because she knew my mother constantly clean. Well, at least every month will clean, and we found out. So yeah, later my mother found, and then when I got to visit in Shanghai first time back home, and she passed away. Commit suicide. I was very sad. So my mother say after that, and she found out this bundle of the food stamps and give it to me. I think it's probably 35 pounds. Wow. Yeah. So it's how many months she saved. So I was a treasure that I got up. I'm very sad, but. I got back to the labor camp and I saved it. I didn't even want to use, because only in the counting, they have a little counting run the restaurants selling those rice noodle. So like 2 ounce you can use the coupon and for 2 bowl of noodle soup. Like that. That's the only place you can use. Otherwise, you can. Then, just like you said, you can sell in the black market.
Yep.
And so 1974. So I think previously I told about my story. I was supposed to go back to Shanghai and the Science and Technology Institute. They accept me, but because my father, the problem, so they did kick me out. So that the Yunnan Pervert, the engineering school, accept me. So I'm prepared to leave. So that day I went to the accounting. You had to do some kind of paperwork. So I had in the restaurant a rationing noodle because I have some coupons. I still have it, and in my pocket. So I met one guy, and he used to be with the same household, and then eventually, probably 2 years earlier. And she went to another county, which was on atop the mountain, very poor place, and he got a job, I think, working there as in those general store, selling, and salesperson. And so I met him. He happened to be also in the restaurant, and so we had talking, and then. He said that over there, they just constantly hungry, but just not enough food. And, that time you work for the store, so they already have a salary, also already have those kind of coupon, stamps, the food stamps. But he said, constantly that's not enough because they make him to carry those goods, inventory. You had to do lots of harsh labor, so he was hungry. I said, well, a growing boy, so I'm hungry, right? So before I leave, I think I just found I still have about probably 20 pounds or whatever the stamps left in the bundle. So I said, well, I'm gonna go to the school. I probably don't need it. I go to the capital of the province, so much better than this guy. So I just give it to him. I said, I don't need it. He was so happy, so grateful. And so we just say goodbye. That's it, right? And then, about a year later, another person and from my household and coming, and he told me, he said, you know that guy? He said, he was being arrested and put in jail. I said, why? And he said that because they accused, was an accusation. He said, well, they accused him as charging him to selling those food stamps in the black market. Oh, I would feel so bad. I just shocked, because it's me. Because if I don't give it to him, he doesn't have extra to selling. Think about that. So I some kind of feel guilty, I said, I didn't think about, I saved, it's so sad. My godmother suicide and before she died and put this to save my life. And then I think I can make this guy's life better than, but the end, because of that, he probably want to trade with something or he wants some money or whatever. So he being arrested and sent it to. So I asked the guy, I said, did you, before you leave, the counting, did you go there to another counting to see him? He said, I did, because this is a very nice guy. Now he living in Vancouver. And so he said, I did. I said, how's the situation? He said, it was horrible. He said, not just to have a chain in his hand, also the foot,
Wow.
Yeah, and the labor. Over there, the jail over there in those primitive places is really, really bad. It's just they don't treat you as a human. It's like you're the animal, maybe worse than animal, and that kind of situation. And he said, I said, wow. I said, do you know that the coupon, I get the stamps, food stamps, I give it to him.
Wow.
So yeah, but lots of many years. That's why I say. That's the things. I just cannot gather these things because I constantly blame myself. Maybe I shouldn't give it to him.
Well, yeah, but I think we have to look at intent. Your intention was to help him, with an extra ration.
Well, only by that guy's intent, under that kind of living condition, people just try to make wherever they can make to help their own families. I mean, it's really the system that push everyone. To
make bad decisions,
right? To make the bad decisions, to push everyone to become criminals. But it's not really crime against anybody.
Yeah.
Right? It's because the law was made by the regime, and they push everyone, through the edge, leaving at the edge, but while they punish you if you go over. So this is it's the problem of the political system. It's the problem of the communist regime. They treat people in the way without any humanity, while they also put all these ridiculous laws that you can do this, you cannot do that, and if and everybody is living under such a harsh condition, and when they try to help their family, make a few extra bucks.
In bottom of the food chain.
Yeah.
That's why when the labor camp, for me, if I still in Shanghai, probably never would know, how harsh life people live. And so that's a bit. Many years later in Shanghai, I met him again, and actually turned to be is not a very sad ending. Turned to be the good ending. I was surprised. It's like a miracle, because the jailer, the one manager then, and have a daughter. And this little girl to visiting, and he has no family there. Nobody will visiting him.
Mm-hmm.
So this little girl, just minority girl, one minority, and she was very sympathized this guy. He said, how can nobody visit him like a Chinese New Year or something? So she always brought something, some food, and her mom made for father and extra for this guy. And then one day he told her father, he said, I want to marry him. So father was shocked. He said, that he's criminal. You cannot do that. But the girl said, no. He said, I think, I want to help him. I want him out. They said, can you helping him? And they said, oh, this guy already there for 10 years.
10 years?
10 years already, yeah.
Just because of selling a little coupon for the rice.
Yeah, just changing for the money, because you want the money to be something else, right? So anyway, and then they get married. So eventually they back to Shanghai, and they open a little noodle shop, rice noodle shop, just like one there. And because this guy's parents, they live at the house, in the front of a house, you can do something commercial. That time, they had, allow people to do that.
Make a living.
So make a living, yeah. So they're still very poor, but anyway, it's
better than prison.
They didn't die there, alone, They, it's a miracle to me. I'm happy for him.
There's an angel there.
Amazing, some of the stories Amy's told where it's starts out really bad and ends up, the story you told about, finding out the guy's a Christian, and a lot of miracle
That's right.
stories.
You never know.
On.
You never know.
Especially
that many years, I keep a track on the people or the follow up, and something come out.
Well, at least it's not a totally bad story that he didn't die in prison or something. But
you think about the good side and the bad side. The bad side was done by the regime, by the government. But the good side, the people still have their own humanity.
Like her godmother, who saved for the extra ones they didn't use. She saved the coupons so that somebody else could benefit.
Yep. So I think you just have to differentiate the Chinese people from the communist regime. This is what we've always
said during the show. The people in China are not the problem. It's the government in China.
Yes.
It's the regime that's the problem.
The people control them.
Well, you can't put people in constant poverty and constant duress and expect them to operate 100%. without criminal intent all the time if you're forcing them to act in a criminal way, if you're the government.
It's really the government, their policy. It's just like a one-child policy, right? They make one-child policy, but the people, they try to have the second children, and then third one, and then they end up become punished, right?
Except now, they
have a two.
Now the Chinese government realized they got a lot of people retired and old, and not enough new Chinese people to keep the economy going. So now they're
forcing you to have the second child. You have to have
already that many years.
Right. Some of the regions that actually make the policy. I saw some of the counties that actually made a policy. You have to have the second child. But the problem is it's much harder, right?
Yeah.
They cannot even do, whatever the planning, because some of them cannot make children.
Well,
what are you going to do with those people?
Well, some of the required reading that we had when I was a kid in grammar school and high school here in California, we had to read The Sun Also Rises from Pearl S. Buck, and that is a traumatic book. If you don't know what's coming in that book, if you read you get in the middle of it and you go, whoa, wait a minute. They're leaving kids on rocks to die? I mean, it's a wild book, and I guess that was our school district's way of showing us how things are in other countries. But Anyway, we have quite a few things to talk about today. I think if you'll just keep Amy's story in mind for the rest of the show, you'll understand what her story is about, if you don't already. Do you want to play the president now?
Yes. So we're going to, first of all, Billy already prepared for us the soundbite of our president talk to the host of CNN.
Yes.
About China policy.
All right. So here is the conversation, pretty much in its entirety. It's about a little over 3 minutes long, but pay close attention to the questions being asked and to what our president, how he responds.
You just talked to China's president.
Yes, for 2 hours.
What about the Uyghurs? What about human rights abuses?
We must speak up for human rights. It's who we are. We can't. My comment to him was, and I know him well, and he knows me well. We're a 2-hour conversation.
You talked about this to him.
I talked about this too, and that's not so much refugee, but I talked about it. I said, look, Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow. But my point was that when I came back from meeting with him and traveling 17,000 miles with him when I was vice president, he was the vice president. That's how I got to know him so well, at the request of President Hu, not a joke, his predecessor, President Hu, and President Obama wanted us to get to know one another because he was going to be the president. And I came back and said they're going to end their one-child policy because they're so xenophobic they won't let anybody else in, and more people are retired than working. How can they sustain economic growth when more people are retired?
When you talk to him, though, about human rights abuses, is that as far as it goes in terms of the U.S., or is there any actual repercussions for China?
Well, there will be repercussions for China, and he knows that. What I'm doing is making clear that we, in fact, are going to continue to reassert our role as spokespersons for human rights at the UN and other agencies that have an impact on their attitude. China is trying very hard to become the world leader. And to get that moniker and to be able to do that, they have to gain the confidence of other countries. And as long as they're engaged in activity that is contrary to basic human rights, it's going to be hard for them to do that. But it's much more complicated than that. I shouldn't have tried to talk China policy in 10 minutes on television.
Well, that was the full conversation. Now think about this. All right. My understanding, you can give your opinion. My understanding, basically, our president is going to make the China policy go back to the olden ways when during the Obama time. I clearly remember, under George W. Bush, under Obama, how American governments tried to raise the issue of human rights in China. It was entirely a lip service. It was basically a lip service. Yeah, we have to raise the voice about those things. But it wasn't really just a lip service. So basically, my understanding of our president was talking about to CNN hosts. They said, oh yeah, we are going to continue to provide that kind of a lip service about the China's human rights. While at the same time, yeah, we understood. We understood why the Chairman Xi over there is doing all these human rights violations. Now think about this. He talked about the history of China, when China was victimized by the outside force. It's because their inside was not united together. Why do we care if they are united or not? Think about this. I mean, communists only had a history of short of 70 years. You cannot relate to the history of the last 70 years of China to the rest of the 5,000 years of civilization in China. They were totally different things. I mean, the traditional Chinese culture is all based on Confucianism. That's the core of Confucianism. That's humanity. While the last 70 years of Chinese communist regime's policies entirely has been against humanity. You can't relate that together. That's total confusion by our president. Our president doesn't really understand what China is about, but he's out there saying, well, he understood the history of China, so therefore he's going to treat the Chinese government with certain kind of a respect of understanding. I think this is exactly how we are going to talk about, to look at the last 50 years of United States-China policy ever since Henry Kissinger visited China. We treat China just as another country, Chinese regime just as another government, Chinese Communist Party just as another political party, no different than any other government around the world, no different than any other political parties around the world. That doesn't work. We fail to realize that it's a regime that's entirely against the humanity.
I don't know if I completely agree with the total assessment you have there, but I will say this. How many Dalai Lamas have are there in the past? 50?
14?
14 Dalai Lamas. Each Dalai Lama lasted at least 70 years. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a long time.
History, yeah.
Long history, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the Chinese government has replaced the guy, the monk, who picks the next Dalai Lama with a Communist Party official. Monk.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the same way.
They picked up one, not the Dalai Lama.
So if you think that tradition is being followed in China like it has for centuries, thousands of years, 14 Dalai Lamas have been picked a traditional way, and now the newest guy who's picking the next Dalai Lama when this one dies, which hopefully won't be very soon, but the monk who is designated to pick the next Dalai Lama,
it's Communist Party.
He's a Communist Party monk.
Yeah.
He is going to
So-
send to the communist
Yeah.
school to be
So-
brainwashed first before you even become next Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is there is the possibility that at least most of what you just said about this whole change in China in the last 70 years or so will have a detrimental impact on Chinese culture even more than it's already had in the last 70 years.
See,
It went from Confucianism and
to communism.
yeah, changed from one seat to the other, and you know her Amy's story. It's I have to say this to you. It's fascinating to me that we start out with a story that in the beginning of the program, sometimes I go, how's this going to work? You know, and it always comes back to Amy's story, and here we are again. We have. See, I may not. Maybe I'm a little slow, but what I got from Biden's comments to CNN about China is that, hey, we're cognizant of the fact that these guys are potentially very dangerous to the world, and we're gonna keep monitoring just like the last guy did. But we'll do it in a nicer way. Is kind of what I got. Now I don't know. Now here's my caveat to my own thinking. Maybe there's no nice way to monitor the communist regime in China. Maybe we have to be hardline in order to make sure they don't keep doing what they're doing.
Well, you know,
That's just I'm thinking out loud here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Billy, I think you look at the things in a very practical way. But however, think about this. You know, we've been through this. We've really been through this in the last 50 years before Trump. All right. So we always treat China nice. You know, we hope by making China richer and more middle class growing in the country, they will change. They will become a part of.
They will change their ways.
They will become a democratic
just wish
Western
they never
world.
did. They never did.
So
I wish they changed.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know.
Yeah.
the
China go
leopard
back.
is not going to change his spots.
No.
Well, the problem is, see, we open our door. This is what end up with in the last 50 years of China policy. We open the doors. We let China in.
Yeah.
Now, we have all the groups that's interesting in China. Like the National File just reported that the AT&T it's pressuring Department of Commerce to keep China Telecom off the blacklist. Yeah. It's a company that has done a lot of technology work to help the Chinese government to persecute the Uyghurs and to
censor them.
Censor them,
yeah.
and
so
also help China to build all the South China Sea,
the infrastructure.
Military.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had to have a solid something,
right.
to sanction them. Otherwise, they just go worse.
So here is what it
you
becomes.
talking about doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're going to get into AT&T and how they're...
No. Here is what it is. In the last 50 years, we let the corporate interests go out to China, try to make money, while we only provide the lip service to raise the concern about our human rights values.
Well, not only human rights, but also, how do I put this nicely, technology espionage.
Right.
Not only do we reach out to help them with technology, but then they took technology from us.
We just talk about it.
Yeah.
We never really
fought it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's everything is the same. So it's really to sacrifice American jobs, American working classes interests, our national security to please the corporate interests.
And it's unfair competition.
That's
unfair competition when you have there's no other way to put it. Forced labor, cheap labor, uncompensated labor in many instances, and then we have to our labor market in the United States.
It's regulated.
It's regulated. It's, we have rules about how much you can get paid, how little you can get paid, the working conditions, the rest of it. It's not fair trade. We have 2 calls.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. So let's, and we're going to get back to AT&T and that whole thing in just a moment. We have Mark in San Juan Bautista. Mark, you're on China Uber Alice. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm interested to hear what we should do. I mean, we have this relationship with China. We love buying their stuff because it was very inexpensive. We didn't really care about the slave labor. We just, we have a $300 billion trade deficit. We tried to put tariffs on. Now we're spending $70 billion a year in those tariffs to support our farmers. We can't, do anything in the South China Sea because their navy and military now is very strong. What should U.S. do with China as far as policy?
So Mark asks a very
wonderful question.
A wonderful question. Actually.
Well, Mark, we have done it. We have done it. Think about, before Henry Kissinger visited China, we live without China just fine. And think about last 4 years. What we have done? Decouple from China. We're doing just fine. We were in the right direction. All of a sudden we are going to go backwards. Now think about this. We want to protect our consumer interest. We do want those cheap labors, but the cheap labors doesn't have to be provided from China. It can go to everywhere, right? Now the problem is, think about why AT&T is doing that. China's internet service provider, China's technology manufacturers, they need a U.S. market. So they come here, they have to work with AT&T. So all of a sudden AT&T had a lot of interest from China. They are representing it. And also, of course, AT&T had big dreams of get another slice of pie from the market in China. Well, they're not really representing. They're not really representing the middle class, the working class's interest. That's the money from your pocket and my pocket. And the president, our president, when he talk about his China policy, he's really representing the corporate interest instead of the middle class interest. Of course, we need to raise the human rights. We provide a lip service about the human rights situations in China. That's been done this is what happened in the last 50 years before Trump. So we provide a lip service and we take care of the corporate interests.
Non, let me clarify here. Let me ask you, okay? Do you think that that the situation is going to turn around in the coming years? Do you think we're going to continue to decouple with China, or is the train going on another
reset everything back?
Well, I hope not.
4 years we just start the right direction. Now I believe you will see it, everything mostly
going backward.
Going backward.
Going back.
Okay.
Well, that's why we
because
need to talk
first he
about
said Americans back. So we're back from 4 years. What do you think? The message?
Well, that's why I'm asking for Mark, because Mark asked the question, what do we do from here?
Yeah, what do we do here? What happened in the last 4 years, especially last 2 years after Trump started raising the tariffs on China? So you see a lot of corporations actually leaving China. They are relocating their factories to maybe Thailand, Malaysia, India,
Vietnam.
Right? A lot of them went to Vietnam, and a lot of our high-tech products, go to Taiwan.
Sure.
So now, if we're going backwards.
Well, wait a minute, though. If we've already established these other labor markets,
I hope
maybe we'll wait and see. If that works out.
Well, think about it. Think about why
it costs a lot of money to move a factory from one country to another.
Think about why AT&T is pressuring Department of Commerce to keep China Telecom off the blacklist.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really it's not about the cheap labor anymore.
But do you really think? Wait. Let me ask it, because there's something else I don't understand, and I think I'm asking the question for Mark and the rest of our listeners.
Yes.
Here's the thing: does AT&T really think in its heart of hearts that they're going to get any market in China when the Chinese telecom is already run by the communist government?
Well,
how do they think they're going to get an inroads into
but they
communications
need the
in China?
technology.
Well,
and so they get a piece of pie. Share it. That's
Right.
what it is.
You
Well,
think the communist government's going
They
to share the pie?
I will.
well, they probably will give them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's number one. That's what the
That's an incentive.
wishful thinking of AT&T. But however, AT&T got the profit by just provide a piece of American market that's on the AT&T to China. See, the Chinese internet service provider and and Chinese internet technology manufacturer, they come to United States. They need to connect with someone with AT&T to sell their product.
I understand what you're saying, but I think if somebody brings up a suit or brings this to the attention of the regulators, I'm sure it's going to go to some court to decide whether we're going to let China into our telecom
Well, you
or
will
not.
see not just this company.
Well, the problem
Telecom.
is if Commerce, see, this is the legal
Yeah.
thing, right? If Commerce remove the
The
China
blacklist.
Telecom from
Yeah.
the blacklist, how are you going to sue them?
Yeah.
See, they are.
Well, that's what I mean.
It
Okay.
just a start. Right now, we're just talking about the
Yeah.
tip
this
of
is
the
a
iceberg.
policy
Yeah, yeah.
issue, right? It's
Just the tip of the iceberg, this company. You will see
legislation
more
issue,
of the list.
policy issue.
So Mark, have we helped you at all?
Well, no, I don't think we've decoupled. Like I said, we now have a record trade deficit. It's never been this high.
Reconnect.
China is producing way more engineers and making way more patents. They've gone into electric vehicles. They're putting up solar and wind way faster than we are. I don't see us decoupling, and I don't see us able to decouple.
Well, there you go. Mark, I appreciate the call. Thank you for bringing the topic up. I'm sure it will generate further comments.
Yeah, I think, Mark, you ask genius questions. So, that's why we are here. We need to educate the American public. We pay a little more expensive for things to be made in the United States, but we keep this nation safe. Do we need to do that, and do we willing to pay for that? That's the key question.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the
No.
Take care, sir. Let's move on and talk to Terry in Felton. Terry, you're on KSCO and China Uber Alice.
Hi, everybody. So that Biden speech that you played, what I heard was China wants to be the most powerful, power in the world. And Biden said in order to do that, you have to, work with me with this, Uyghurs or whatever. And then he kind of quickly changed the topic and said, well, it's hard to talk about China policy. So to me, it sounded like he was saying, yeah, you want to be the most powerful. I can help you do that. Just follow, just go along with these things I'm saying. But my thing is, he wants to help China be the most powerful.
Yeah, see, I didn't get that. I heard that differently than you did, but I can certainly see that interpretation.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think, Amy? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard about that, but I think, what do you think? I think my interpretation, probably as a people are different, I think we were helping that.
Well, yeah, it's pretty clear to me. You want to be powerful. I can help you do that.
Yeah. Well, see, that's kind of scary when you look at it from that point of view.
What do you think, Don?
Well, I think we really need to, American people really need to watch out. Make sure that, we're not down to that path. Yeah. I mean, because it's every country's foreign policy, it's the extension of their domestic policy. When China becomes the most powerful nation in the world, how Chinese communist regime treat their own people will be the way they treat all the societies around the world.
Yeah, and with Trump, I heard him saying America first. I hear Biden say China first, and I can help you do that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Is he the president of China or America?
Well, that's a very good question to think about and to watch out.
Yeah.
And just one other thing. I never knew, when I was growing up, I noticed everything said made in China, and people would say, try to get it made in the USA. I had no idea about this slave labor and what they were doing until I heard your show. Of course, I haven't paid attention to world affairs for a long time, but I had no idea, so I'm not going to buy the stuff, and I'll pay more just to make it so that these people aren't...
It is the main reason. I have no problem with the company itself, but it is the main reason why I do not own an iPhone and will never own one because of where they were made and how they were made.
Good for you. Let's vote dollars.
Well, that's what I did, and I just don't want to have an iPhone. It's not because I don't love Apple. It's a great American company, but the iPhones for a long time were all made in a horrible factory. Anyway.
Now I want to off AT&T after what you're saying. I can't because that's my landline. But
anyway. And guess what? One more thing. You know who owns CNN?
Yeah.
It's AT&T.
And you know who owns DirecTV? AT&T.
AT&T.
Same company.
I don't do TV and I don't watch news, so at least I'm not participating in that.
Well, you got to watch a little news so you know what's going on. You might want to think that one again. But anyway.
I don't do TV. I just do KSCL.
Oh, thank you.
That's great.
Oh, terrific.
Good for you.
Thank you for the call.
Thank you, Terry.
All right, let's move on to Steve, who's calling us from Pacific Grove. Steve, you're on China Uber Alice.
Hey, well, thank you for your show. What's interesting about when you talk about Mr. Biden is his son, Hunter, and all the goodies that he did there. They had all the goods on him, and now it's all forgotten because Mr. Biden wants to bring us all together. Let's look at Hunter. He's a misogynist. I think there's film of him torturing Chinese hookers. The guy is just a wonderful person, and his dad is even more better. I mean, besides what the Chinese did to the Falun Gong and the Nepalese and the Tibetans and the Uyghurs and the Hong Kong people, and what they're trying to do, it's called the art of war. The art of war. They keep they let you go down the wrong road, pat you on the back while you're doing it. The minute you start looking at them and start saying, hey, you guys really aren't that nice people, they'll put roadblocks in your way. That's what the communists do. They're good at it. They've been doing it for years. We're suffering from them right now with the cooties they spread around. All these people are scared to death of their own shadow, and they're not brave people. That's one thing that really bothers me about America now. Get your head out of your right rear pocket and look at these people for what they are.
Well, and the other thing we have to remember, and we keep saying this in the show periodically just so folks know where we're coming from, we don't want to persecute the Chinese people. The people in China they're living under a communist regime that is less than nice. Let me just put it that way. But we're not against the Chinese people themselves. They're hardworking, industrious folks, but they are being forced to live in a certain way because they're living under a communist government.
Exactly. These guys, they're the art of war. You let your enemies go down the wrong road, pat them on the back. You're doing great. Hey, go ahead. The minute they start doing things to fight you, like Mr. Trump tried to as far as trade tariffs and all, anybody that looks at their conditions that people are working under, oh my goodness, you're the worst person in the world. No, these guys are professional con artists. So, I mean, you're the people you got there, they know it. They know it real well. We're starting to figure it out right now. A lot of our small businesses are going downtown because of that Hong Kong flu, whatever the heck you want to call it. I mean,
the China virus?
China virus.
Yes, whatever you want to call it.
CCP virus.
Oh, by the way, it's not politically correct to call it China virus.
Anymore.
Oh, no. You're not politically correct to call it anything. But get your head out of your behind. Stop wearing your mask. If you're going to die, you're going to die. That's the way it is. I mean, if you're old and you're almost on death's doorstep, well, that's the way it goes. Why ruin the economy? I mean,
well, Steve,
am I a crazy person?
No, we appreciate the comment. Thanks for calling and pointing some things out.
Thank you. Everything absolutely right, you say.
Let's see who we got next. Who's been on the longest? That would be Reggie in Monterey. Let's talk to Reggie in Monterey on China Uber Alice.
Real quick. My question is for Amy. Amy, do you think that China will ever be able to? Will we be able to hold China responsible for the virus?
I don't think so. Well, it's just, and I think for a while, I think we're gonna go after them and find out the truth. But right now, I don't think they don't even. Right now, the new government, new administration, they don't even let you call China virus.
Yeah, it's
so. What do you think?
Incorrect.
Right?
Hey, Reggie, I'm up against the clock. I gotta try to get to my. Thanks for calling. Got to get to our break here before we end this hour. Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito. A couple of minutes walk to the ocean at 830 41st Avenue in Pleasure Point. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, this is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Kaito.
Hi, it's Charlie from the Garden Company Nursery, and I'm happy to report that we are open for business. Of course, for the safety of employees and customers, in compliance with county protocols, face coverings are required and social distance must be maintained. Also note that for now, we're not accepting cash for payment. But you can feel free to wander through our great selection of herbs, vegetables, bedding plants, flowering perennials, shrubs, vines, and fruit trees. Select a colorful ceramic pot for your patio, a whimsical sculpture for your garden, or choose a lush houseplant to add life to any room. Let us help you rediscover the healing satisfaction of enhancing the beauty of your home sanctuary. We have all the organic soils, fertilizers, and earth-friendly pest controls to help you succeed and maintain the health of your garden oasis. Get out of the house and visit us at The Garden Company, 2218 Mission Street, across from Safeway on the west side of Santa Cruz.
We're now open every day from 9 to 4:30, including access to our surprising gift shop.
People do not like going to the dentist unless they're going to this dentist. Hello, folks. Michael Olson here with Dr. Guy Peabody. How has healthcare changed with respect to dentistry over the past 20 years, Doctor?
Well, overall, healthcare has changed in a way where people are being treated a little more like a number. So one of the things we're excited about is we get to be that blast from the past. We're more of your Marcus Welby kind of office. We know our patients. We know their family members. We don't treat them like a number, and we give them the time and the care to give them the quality result they want, and they feel well cared for.
What is the result when you've restored dental health to somebody who hasn't had any for a long time? What kind of change does that affect in them?
Well, it brings about a tremendous sense of confidence within them and peace of mind.
Call Dr. Guy Peabody for a consultation today and wake up to a beautiful smile tomorrow. 831-457-0343 or visit drpeabody.com.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared twice daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
This is China Uber Alice on KSCO Santa Cruz. It's 3 o'clock. We'll be back in 1.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. A NASA rover has landed on Mars in an epic quest to bring back rocks that could answer whether life ever existed on the red planet. The space agency says the 6-wheeled Perseverance hurled through the thin orange atmosphere and settled onto the surface Thursday in the mission's riskiest maneuver yet. Mars has long been a death trap for incoming spacecraft. Perseverance will collect geological samples that will be brought back to Earth in about a decade to be analyzed for signs of ancient microscopic life. NASA's Bobby Braun says the return of the samples from Mars is much like a baton in a relay race.
The sample tubes will be filled by Perseverance. The sample retrieval lander will house this container, and they'll be placed within. And then the third element, the Earth Return Orbiter, will bring this container, triply sealed, back to the Earth.
Perseverance also sent back its first pictures from the Martian surface. Senate Republicans are calling for an investigation into New York Governor Andrew Cuomo over his handling of coronavirus deaths in the state's nursing homes.
The call comes in a letter from 9 GOP members of the Senate Judiciary Committee to its Democrat chairman. In it, they lament what the letter describes as the needless deaths caused by the failed policies of the Cuomo administration. Cuomo has come under fire after it was revealed his administration waited to report thousands of nursing home deaths after Cuomo required those facilities to admit new residents, even if they had already already contracted coronavirus. The letter describes Cuomo's alleged actions as, quote, more than irresponsible and very possibly criminal. Bud Agnew reporting.
President Biden's administration has joined Democrats on Capitol Hill in unveiling a major immigration overhaul. It would offer an 8-year pathway to citizenship to the estimated 11 million people living in the U.S. illegally. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 119 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Chef Ben here from the Back Nine Grill and Bar at the Pasatiempo exit. Sharing with you our family meal. A full rack of ribs, a whole smoked chicken, a pound of pulled pork, and plenty of barbecue sauce. Served with a full quart of baked beans, coleslaw, macaroni and cheese, dinner rolls, onions and pickles, including dessert, homemade brownies, and a pint of Marianne's vanilla bean ice cream. Feeds 4 to 6 hungry people, ready in 15 minutes. See you at the 9.
For the mortgage news, tune in the Mortgage Minute with Jim Chubb of Pacific Inland Mortgage. Monday at 12:10, right here on the Charles Friedman Show. Jim and I will talk about where the interest rates are and where they might go, and what it all means for your ability to achieve your dreams. We're talking money on the Mortgage Minute, Monday at 12:10 with Jim Chubb of Pacific Inland Mortgage, and yours truly, Charles Friedman. We are what's for lunch.
Here's the townhall.com business brief.
Major indexes closed lower on Wall Street as more discouraging data on jobless claims and higher bond yields gave investors little reason to keep pushing the market higher. The S&P gave back 0.4%, its third straight loss. The government reporting that applications for jobless benefits rose last week to 861,000 as layoffs remained high. Natural gas prices fell 4.3% as the frigid temperatures in Texas moved east, giving some relief to the region. The Dow fell 119 points today to close at 31,493. The Nasdaq was off 100, finishing at 13,865. The S&P 500 down 17 to 3,913. New York oil fell 62 cents, closing at $60.52 a barrel. With business, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. The UN's food agency says alarming new data show that more Syrians than ever are going hungry.
10 years ago, the UN Commission says the government of Syria unleashed overwhelming violence on its people to crush dissent. From there, opportunistic foreign finance and fighters have made the situation more complicated and even more violent. Today, more than half of Syria's people have fled their homes, displaced inside Syria or refugees in other countries. All parties to the conflict are likely to have committed war crimes and crimes against humanity.
The BBC's Imogene Folks. Dozens of former pro wrestlers who claimed World Wrestling Entertainment failed to protect them from repeated head injuries are taking their case to the Supreme Court. A lawyer for the former wrestlers filed a request late Wednesday asking the Supreme Court to hear appeals of lower court rulings. More on these stories at townhall.com.
KSCO News Talk time is 3:05. I'm Sam Quinton with your King of the Hill traffic and weather. We will start with a fresh update on the Highway 1 closure. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., the southern end of the Highway 1 closure is scheduled to move from Pacific Valley at mile marker 16 to the Big Creek Vista Point at mile marker 27.3. So there you go. That's the latest on the Highway 1 closure. Elsewhere, Highway 17 southbound, nearby the summit. We have a traffic collision there. 2 vehicles reported involved in that. Unknown if there are any injuries. However, the number 2 lane, is blocked, and that is causing backups. About 5-minute delay to get through that area. Highway 9 is clear. Highway 1 coming off the Fishhook southbound, you're going to find slow and go conditions through Soquel Drive, 41st Avenue. That's bound to just getting more. The rest of the way on Highway 1 down to Monterey, that is currently clear. Highway 101 right now, let's take a look. That is currently clear as well. Your Central Coast forecast for the rest of this afternoon, mostly sunny skies, looking for a high of 62. Southwest winds around 6 miles per hour. Right now, outside the KSCO studios, it is 62 degrees. Now, let's go back to the second hour of China Uber Alice on KSCO.
China Uber Alice is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito Ramen and Japanese Tapas on 41st in Capitola. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen and tapas dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum. Wow, I looked up at the clock at the end of last hour, and we just made the commercial break. I am horribly sorry that we cut it that close. We want to thank two of our callers who have hung on through the news break at the top of the hour. We'll get to your calls directly here in just a second. Let me remind folks, if you've just joined us, this is China Uber Alice. I'm Bill Graff, along with Nan Su from the Epoch Times, and Amy Howe, who is a communist re-education camp survivor, and a delightful person, by the way. I really, every one of these shows I do is an education for me, and I greatly appreciate our calls and our questions. We're talking today about the direction of China and the United States and its interaction, and I want to, I don't want to wait. I hope you folks don't mind. You're okay with going to calls because these folks have been waiting for a long time. Andres, you're on KSCO. Thanks for waiting. Andres. Did I push the right button? No, Andres went away. All right, let's go to Mark. Mark, you're calling from Santa Cruz today?
I'll keep it clean.
Okay.
I have a tendency of looking at life as a chess game, a masterful chess game. And whoever learns how to play that game better is going to come out on top. China looks at us as a conquest. They will conquer this country. It's only a matter of time. Most of our politicians have sold us out. Mitch McConnell, he's up to his eyeballs in China, and he's one of many. China is a godless nation. They have no ramifications for life whatsoever. They've been a warring nation from the beginning for centuries. That's all they know. They will stop at nothing. For whatever they want, they're going to take it. Every time we use the good Lord's name out of context, you're giving the devil his due. We're in a battle for goodness or evil. It's up to each one of you as individuals. Pick what side of the road you want to go down. Make sure you pick the righteous path. You don't have to believe, but don't throw his holy name around like it's meaningless. If you ever get the chance to visit Arlington or Norway, look at the crosses upon the headstones and the men and women that courageously, posthumously laid down their lives for you, me, and this entire world so it could have somewhat of a chance of peaceability. So I'm begging you and all your listeners, have some respect. You don't have to believe. Think for yourselves. Don't follow the road to evil. Maybe we can get a few more years. Peace be with you. Thank you for your time, and I love your guest. Bye now.
Can you email your poem? It's very, very impressive. What you wrote? He's gone?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Mark, right?
Mark, he dropped off.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for the call.
Mark called us and expressed his point of view, which is what the program's for. By the way, he's talking about he was referring to various cemeteries where American soldiers are.
World War II.
In World War II.
Normandy and the
Sure. There are several other
Arlington
and Normandy and several of those places in France as well. But one of the ones everybody forgets about, if you go up to Punch Bowl on the island of Oahu,
yes, I did,
and you come over the rise and look down on that cemetery, it's
really,
wow, impressive,
very touching.
Very touching.
You have a chance, you should.
Well, you know what? Just to relate to what we're talking about. First of all, I want to thank Mark to bring the issue. Think about the American men and women fighting all around the world for freedom of people living in other nations. I remember D-Day speech by Roosevelt. Mm-hmm. And American said when we sent our troops to Europe, it was not to conquer, but for freedom.
It was to help the British and the French.
Yeah.
And the various other countries that were overtaken at the time. And by the way, speaking of great speeches, there's a few issued by Winston Churchill that were pretty impressive as well. So
yeah.
And you gotta respect people trying to protect themselves.
And also, you think about this. If you just remember, if you try to remember the people that make the sacrifice, American men and women sacrifice to make the freedom available to people living all around the world. Think about the people, the American manufacturing, working in the manufacturing industry that in the past 2 decades who lost their job to China. It's the same kind of a sacrifice. We are sacrifice American people's job and their benefits, their income, really to try to make China become free. And it's the same kind of sacrifice, but China never changed.
I've said this in the past on this program. I would look within reason. If I could buy my beloved, there's a pair of. I grew up wearing Levi 501 jeans. If I could buy a pair of 501 Levi jeans made in America, I think there's one factory left that makes them in America, but they're really expensive. But, if I could get my hands on a good quality pair of Levi's made in America, boy, that would be great. If I could buy a really well-made telephone in the United States that was made here, there's a couple of companies left.
Not too long ago, I think the first to make the cell phone, in the car was Motorola.
It was Motorola. Yeah. And by the way, I still have Doug Winfrey, one of our employees here. He runs our network downstairs. Doug and I used to do high school football games on this radio station, and we did 3 or 4 seasons of high school football using a Motorola flip phone to get the signal back to the station, and it was the cleanest. They sounded good, but.
I don't think you can Motorola phone anymore, right?
No, they went to China. First one went to China. They're stealing everything from there.
Yeah, Motorola.
Because they're so naive. The key technology, they give it to Chinese, hire Chinese, and then they bought it by us.
And I don't think that's not an isolated case. China is now and was at the time very good at copying technology.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Now, another thing really important there for us to realize, and it's that it's not only about the cheap labor. It's not about our consumers to save a few bucks when purchase our daily necessities. Now think about this. I just read an article that was published by it's the one who wrote it. His name it's Joseph Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. Joseph Weiss. He's a control system cybersecurity expert. It's talking about it's talking about the electrical power transformer. That's imported from China. So basically, they say that in his article, he said the Chinese install hardware backdoors was scary enough to motivate the Department of Energy, DOE, to intersect the next large Chinese transformer imported into the U.S. and transport it to the Sandia National Laboratory.
To be examined.
Yes. Now think about this. Just the last few days, what happened, in
Texas.
The ice storm, what caused the hard living condition the entire society was under. So if say, without the ice storm, but there was an attack from the back door that was left open as a part of those imported transformers from China, what's going to happen?
Well, yeah, that's a horrible what if. So that's why I'm saying, the way that we think about it, it's not only, saving a few bucks, when we purchase of daily necessities, but it's also a national security issue.
Yeah.
Sure. No, that's a very good point.
Yes.
Hey, let's talk to Gordon in Aptos. He's called us from beautiful downtown Aptos. Hi, Gordon. You're on KSCO.
Ni hao ma.
Wow. Happy Chinese New Year.
And how safe there. Anyway, you know that the Japanese they have to have a different mindset than we've been inculcated in the university system since the 1930s. This is a long game. The communists actually in the 1930s started to infiltrate heavily, because that's where it started, universities. So in by the 40s, they were able to snag people Mao Zedong and Ho Chi Minh and others into their system. Well, just fast forward that about 75 years, because they've been doing the same thing, the same program. The Communist Party of America published that in the 30s, actually, what their goals were. And they basically achieved it because they took a long game. Now, the mindset that can defeat this and we can all remain friends is the Japanese actually get a lot of their circuits boards and stuff manufactured in China, but they know very well about the Chinese commies there. So what they do is they design into their circuit boards dummy programs or irrelevant circuits that, and of course they do that. And when they come back for their inspection in Japan before they're sold, that's how they're marketed as Japanese product. That is taken care of. So see, when the United States gets that smart, maybe you will get a set of 501s, but I guarantee they won't be as cheap as they are now. Okay, that's what Gordon has to say. Have a happy New Year.
Thank you, Gordon. Yeah, he's, there are strategies to protect ourselves. I think it's the best way to paraphrase what Gordon was saying. We can design circuit boards in such a way that we can protect ourselves. We can check them easily so that they won't be tampered with. We can build a circuit and make sure the transformer that's made in China doesn't have a backdoor.
Well, see, if we don't decouple with from China, the things you don't know actually what kind of things you need to pay attention. Keep in mind, we are still in the pandemic. We couldn't even get a mask. Well, think about this. You don't know where the attack is just going to come from, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so
true.
all the masks were made in China. Well, we do have American corporations make masks in China, but the Chinese government doesn't want those American products come back to the United States. See, this is the problem, right?
No, well, yeah, but look, we've proved in the past. We all know this. We all have read the history books. When push came to shove, when we really needed to switch from making cars and tractors to making airplanes and submarines and ships, we can do it in America. We can get that done. If we need to, Ford for quite a while last year stopped making cars and started making ventilators.
Yeah,
we can do that really quickly. We're good at that kind of stuff. When the shop foreman at Ford says, "Okay, stop the line. We're not making front bumpers anymore. Here's the blueprints. Get on it. Let's make some ventilators." We can do that. That's not the point, really. I think the point is that we should probably be a little safer in the way we make products. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't want to make... Look, if one of our naval aviators is flying a jet, I want all the parts in that jet to be made in the United States or by one of our very close allies. I don't want any parts from countries that aren't friendly to us in that airplane.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think the point is right now, more attracted to the big corporation is the market share.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not the cheap labor because somewhere much cheaper than China. So that's not an advantage anymore. But the market because the population there.
It's so big.
And they're not just so big, they already established, so they have a buying powers. Well, other countries, they still develop, but they don't have money, to buy. So American big corporation, that corporate greed you're talking about, is not the same for country. Mm-hmm. So that country, that concept today is not there anymore. What country? They're making money globally. So?
See, the problem
That's
here,
what I think.
Yeah,
I think it's a good point.
I think it's a good point. Now, Amy made a good point about the corporate interests. A lot of people, we start thinking consider all these issues from our own interest. That's just one angle. But think about how the corporates that work with our politicians, our elected officials together. Now all of a sudden you have these corporate interests. They're not really interested in helping Americans anymore. All they need to do is they make money all around the world, and they come with all these politicians. They're really interested on build on this so-called a globalization, all these nations working together to protect the earth or whatever. Now, what's the choice here? I mean, if we are going to live in our future as the slave of a communist regime, I mean, why do you care about, if the future is green or what? I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Which one is more important?
So if you're a slave, you care about what kind of environment? Is green or white or what?
Well, see, this is how this ideology and the economic interest, the ideology of the politicians and the corporate interests come together. So all of a sudden, we really need to help China to become more powerful. So I don't get it. So I think we need to go back to think about how to make the working class and the middle class in the United States to live better, because this is the people, they fight all around the world for the freedom of people living in other nations. We are, the existence of the United States really provide safety and security for the entire Western world's freedom and democracy.
Well, we're fighting for our way of life.
No. Well, think about this.
Basic values.
Yeah.
Remember last time there was a guy calling, there was a caller, was that Gary?
By the way, I talked to him, he came in, and the reason he hadn't, just to clarify, so our audience knows, if you were listening last week, Gary called up, he was kind of unhappy that we hadn't gotten his information.
Well, we got his information.
No, but turns out he sent us a whole bunch of information to the wrong email address, which didn't exist.
Okay.
And so he brought I have it right here. Here it is. It's right here next to me. I got it all. Gary, I'm showing it to Nan and Amy right here, and I'll give you copies of it so you can read it. But every once in a while, you got to, even really good technology,
you have to go check.
You have to make sure you got the right address.
Right address, yes.
Now, Gary, what I want to mention here is the book, the little book you dropped to us, China, the Deep State's Trojan Horse in America. That I do read a book. Mm-hmm. You know, one part of the book, you talk about the Confucius Institute was used as a part of Chinese Communist regime's.
Did you know that they just changing?
That's what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
See. You know, Mr. Pompeo last year talking about send all the Confucius Institute back to China.
Right.
But, you know, Biden just canceled it.
Yeah.
Canceled the order.
Oh, so quietly, very quietly.
Very quietly.
But somebody watching, they posted on the internet.
Right.
You didn't hear, not the meeting report. No meeting reported that.
See, I didn't hear that till just now.
I saw the internet.
Yeah, so now Confucius Institute.
Another reason why this program should be listened to.
That's right. So the Confucius Institute right now can come to all the universities, campus.
Back again.
They're coming back.
They canceled everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Quietly, didn't know about it.
Well, on previous, if you've been listening to China Uber Alice for a while, you understand that we hit this one, I think, in the second show.
Yep.
And we've been following it along. The Confucius Institute has little or nothing to do with Confucius, and is definitely not a friend to the United States.
Yeah. Actually, the CCP Institute.
Right.
That's the truth.
The Department of Defense. You know that all the universities, they get their funding for their foreign language program from Department of Defense.
Yeah.
So Department of Defense basically make a policy. I think that's back in 2019. Basically, if you allow Confucius Institute come to your campus, then you're not going to get funding for your foreign language program from Department of Defense. And that's a part of the effort made by Trump administration to push all these Confucius Institute out. Mm-hmm. So and then last year, State Department basically say we want all the Confucius Institute out of the United States. But now, you know, Biden just secretly canceled that order.
Been the first week he become a president. They canceled. Very quiet. Nobody know, but they still.
Well, we all know
somebody's
now.
Watching.
All three of us know now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk to Wendy, who's calling us from Ben Lomond. Wendy, you're on China Uber Alice.
Hello. I wanted to add something about American corporations. And it's a problem that goes back not necessarily to the corporate structure, but to the way the government arranges corporate structures. And that is that the corporation is there to create wealth for the stockholder beyond anything else. And we have a mandate, an NSA document. I'm not sure of the exact number on it, but it messes up because what is wealth? Is it money? Is it stock value? Or is it having a clean environment? And I think working on that might be an interesting way to kind of make these two systems meet.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's a very good idea, actually.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to add that. Thank you so much.
Wendy, thank you for the call.
All right.
Thank you, Wendy.
Dick has called us from Santa Cruz. Dick, you're on KSCO.
Hey, Nan and Amy and Billy. I wanted to talk to you about a idea. Well, actually, I was talking to my wife about this. It's just briefly, but it struck me the way things going with China and China Joe. That's what I call him. He's not going to help us much with anything with China. I can guarantee you that, especially with all his contacts. So, what I'm thinking is, what's the long term? You know, China always has long term stuff, right? So, I think this could be a scenario, and I just want to see what you guys might think. Right now, the world is living on zero or negative interest rates. And it's always been an aspiration of China to be the reserve currency. And that's not a conspiracy, you know. I mean, I think it was Clinton that let them in to the into the bundle of currencies at one point. I think it was Clinton that first let them in. And they're in there, and their dollar or yuan, or forget what they call it.
The yuan.
Yuan. Yuan?
Yuan.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Their long-term plan with the zero interest rates and the negative interest rates is to just, of course, be a supplier to the whole Western world for every cheap thing available. I have to say, as a sidebar, Biden's talk with CNN about China and the Uyghurs was just basically ridiculous. It was disgusting. I mean, he didn't say anything. He basically said he's going to support China in whatever their cultural revolution requires. Anyway, the money thing that I'm getting at, I think that's really one of their number one goals, besides getting everybody dependent on them, and then to spread the communism and basically their influence, which they do anyway because everybody's dependent on them for every little thing, and they will never say no to China. So they're lining that's the scenario that's lining up. And at some point, because there's so much with this coronavirus, which, you know, I won't repeat where I think that came from and why it came from. In the end, nobody can really, all the countries owe China so much money, and they owe so much to their national debt.
That is true. A lot of countries around the world have a huge debt to China right now.
Yeah, they also are building and printing money even more than we are. See, everything's kind of relative to what we're doing with our money supply. And it's completely, I think they've lost track or even care how many dollars they print, you know, and our deficit at some point, well, actually you're feeling it now with lumber, and I know we had a storm, but with food prices and base consumer price, wholesale consumer is up to 1.7, and it was running like 0.6 forever. So it really jumped. That's a huge jump just in the last quarter or month or whatever. In any case, what I'm predicting, and it's you know, you can call me Doom Dick, you know. I always come up with these doom scenarios. The reason I'm talking about it, I think it's so important that all our politicians are ignoring this, and at some point, the party's going to be over, and China probably will instigate it. I don't know exactly how they'll do it, but they will instigate the collapses of, you know, one after another of Western currencies. They will then step in, and they will be the reserve currency. We will have no other choice. We can't raise interest rates. My God, every country would go broke. Every government would go broke. That's the unspoken truth. You know, no Democrat or Republican will say that if we went to normal interest rates, which is like 6-7%, it is over. It's completely the dollar. You know, we'll go. I tell my wife, we'll go to the store. A loaf of bread will be $20. The next week it'll be $40, and then the crap hits the fan. China moves in. They make all the promises. They have all the wealth. They have all the gold. They have all the silver. They have all whatever. They've got all the rare. They have all the rare elements now that we're totally dependent on with this fake green energy deal. They were totally dependent on China for all those rare elements. And the bottom's going to fall out of everything. Everybody will be dependent on China. China will make a deal, and one of their deals, they'll come and take California. They'll come and take Mexico. They'll come and take the Northern Africa. They'll come and take all of Asia. They'll just say, they'll demand, we want this. They're expansionists, and they want to roll out, and I'm telling you, China Joe is helping them roll it out, because in the end, the globalists want to destroy Western society. That's my theory.
Yes,
so
Dick.
Yeah, go.
May I jump in?
Go.
You're very smart. The thing you're talking about, the currency, the thing, really worries about me.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about something else. I think they're playing a new game because, everything depends on, everything's calculated by US dollar. So that's our last resort to control.
Yeah, it is.
It's true. But now they started this digital money.
Oh, yeah, Bitcoin.
So try to, no, not Bitcoin, nothing to do with the Bitcoin. So pay attention. We have to be allowed.
Digital money.
Yeah, digital money. That's going to control the world to replace the US dollar. So this pandemic is a good opportunity for them to start because we will see very soon the war recession because of the pandemic. Think about it. It's stopped for 1 year, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So they start. And so they can use this digital money system to replace the US dollar. So that's people, our government don't talk about, people don't think about it. That's the last result we have. We had still thinking the old way. It's not the old way. Yeah. It's a new way, the game changing. Right. So we can talk about that.
Right. They already start using that, and they force everyone to use it in China. So basically, you don't see your real money anymore.
Well, actually, we see that a lot here now, where everybody carries their ATM card, and very few people don't want to go to the bank and get real money. They just pay with the
they force Visa you card. The money had to go become a digital money. Yeah. So they also control like a ration. How much you can use for this, how much you can use for that, and then they dictated the price. Yeah. So that's where they want to control the world from digital money. So we had to pay attention to that.
Dick, we appreciate the call.
All right, I had one more comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, to clarify what Amy just said, so the digital rollout or use of Chinese currency or whatever they're equating the digital money to, is that the catalyst for them to maybe ruin and take down Western money and
entire Western financial system? Basically, because they can trade, use digital money trade with they want oil, they trade with Middle East or any other country.
Well, because they have so much influence in other countries.
Yeah, the digital money becoming their system. Yeah. So to replace the traditional system.
Well, because they're so involved in other countries.
It's a very dangerous thing, but nobody talk about it.
When you're the reserve currency, okay, and oil is traded in dollars, et cetera, gold and whatever, is based on dollars.
Yeah, all dollar, yeah.
I know. Yeah, but that's just digital.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, but you remember though, Dick, that a couple of years ago they tried to switch the petroleum standard to the European currency, and euro, and it didn't work.
It didn't work, yeah.
It didn't work. They switched it back to the United States currency.
Yeah. Well, that's going to end. The way we're going and the way China's going, that's what they're after. They want that reserve currency, and then they'll want to collapse us, and they'll just, expand their country. Because
you've given us some stuff to think about. I got a board full of calls. I got to go.
You're very smart. This question we have to talk about for another
thank you for
week.
Calling.
A whole nother show, actually. Let's see, who's on the longest here? That would be Mary in Capitola. If I push the right button. Mary, you're on KSCO and China Uber Alice.
Hi, thank you. I think your previous callers were spot on when they talked about China having a lot of patience. They play the long game. You talk about chess. Definitely, China is looking 50 moves ahead. We Americans are perceived as fat and lazy. We're watching reality TV shows when this stuff is happening. And I got maybe 15 years ago, I learned to buy American if I had the choice because my investment would last longer. My question for Amy and Non is, I am concerned with the Paris Climate Accords. Why China, a country that uses 80 billion pairs of chopsticks a year, that's B as in boy, deforestation, and they're right up there with India as the two top polluters in the world. Why has China been granted third world status at the Paris Climate Accords through the year 2030? And I will take my answer off the air. Thank you so much. Bye.
Well, I think that's just a big influence from China.
It is influence.
You know, because if see, this is how the ideology come to the, you know, it drive the distance, the kind of distance will cover by the ideology from all these people. They really are driving this green idea to the level of ludicrous, right? So, you know, basically, you don't give the Paris Accord. It's a negotiation for every country to join. Now, if you don't give China and India that kind of a benefit, they're just not going to join. So in order for we you know, for the people in the West, in order for us to try to convince them to join, we have to basically give them the money to purchase them. To be part of that accord. Yeah. That's what happened.
But let me ask the rhetorical question. The elephant in the room here. Why do we want them to participate?
Well,
if they're going to participate in a malice kind of way, you know what I mean?
Well, now think about this. How ridiculous this ideology has to have gone. Right, I remember just a few years ago. I think it's like 4 years ago. We went to this Sacramento, tried to convince our legislators to pass a resolution to condemn the live organ harvesting taking place in China. Right now. It was a resolution. It doesn't even have teeth. You know, it doesn't punish China.
No political power at all. Just a sort of a statement.
It's a statement. Now, all it took was a Chinese consulate in San Francisco send a letter to the California legislators. Stop doing that. You know, so it's not good for the relationship of China-U.S. So they stopped. Now and then, you know, there was a bunch of people I remember went to the state capitol. I was there too, tried to convince our legislator it's something we got to do, right? And guess what the legislator told us? He said, "Well, we try to, you know, work with China for all this, to climate change, to handle this climate change. You know what? You know, if the climate change is not stopped, then we're going to have the global crisis. At that time, we lost all the humanity. We don't have human rights at all. This is how crazy." I mean, we stopped to raise the voice about these human rights issues in China because we care about the climate change, because we care about, I don't know how many 100 years later that we don't have this green earth anymore, or wherever. See, this is how far this ideology will go. So that's
why we was.
It's the same reason. That's the same reason that's been driven us to give China and India the kind of a benefit. You know, we punish us. We are the cleanest nation in the whole world.
And we had to.
You know, that's the one thing that I completely agree with. You know, we have clean. Look, I remember as a kid going to visit my grandmother in Southern California, and when we got to the top of the Grapevine and looked down on Los Angeles, you couldn't even see Los Angeles. It was that polluted.
Yeah.
Okay? We have come so far. You could see halfway to San Diego now. I mean, it's way cleaner. Okay? We pay more for gasoline in California. It's specially refined. We have, you know, cars that have all kind of devices on them that, you know, we're the leader in California for pollution control.
But
okay, so now we have China telling us, this stuff about why they want to be involved in, cleaning up the world, and between China and a couple of other places like India, it's the worst pollution on the planet Earth.
That's right. So that's why we were out of this club, and but right now everything back.
So that's why.
That's why America back to those unfair and a useless organization. We don't want to be one of a member of the club, but we just start last 4 years, but now back again. Everything, every club.
But I wonder,
can't believe it.
How are we going to force China and other big polluting nations?
Well,
how are we going to force them to clean up their act?
We don't have to force them, right? If they want to continue do pollution, let them be. First of all, I'm totally not convinced there is a climate crisis. There is a climate change. There is a climate change.
But
the climate change. See, I remember back in 2000, Al Gore said by the year of 2014, the California will be under the sea, in the water entirely.
Yeah.
It never happened. See, this is.
But what about though the people who are cutting down the Brazilian rainforest?
Amazon rainforest. Yeah.
Okay, so if that, most people agree that vegetation there helps clean helps provide us with enough oxygen to keep the planet going, right? But if you keep burning it down and removing all that vegetation, eventually it's, going to cause a really big problem. So how do we convince those nations that are doing stuff like that? I'm sure there are parts of China that are, they're slashing and burning that too.
Actually, I visited Amazon, and I realized that local people, they're always against. Also, the truth is, Amazon, is a goddess. I mean, is a woman supposed to be, and very powerful. So everything they did, burn down those things, and some rubber plantation or something, nothing worked.
Right.
Because they believe this God will have a power. But the sad truth is, when they burn down, you're not able to replace. Because, just like existence. So all the plants, they had to be together. They live together. So you burn down and you try to replace you had to replace everything.
Yeah.
But it's impossible.
So I guess that sort of illustrates my concern.
Yeah.
See, so what do we do?
My point is, by some point, we don't have to really worry what happened in China, India. To a certain point, they will realize their environment is not good. They are going to stop. We don't have to send American taxpayers' money to buy them.
They'll figure out it's too polluted to live there.
Right.
Okay.
So you don't have to. You don't have to. I think it's just ludicrous for us to spend American taxpayers' money to really give to India, give to China, say, hey, here is the money, clean your environment. It doesn't work that way. It's just never going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have callers. Let's see. John in Monterey has called. He's been waiting a while. John, you're on KSCO and China Uber Alice.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Listen, I have just a general question, and I've tried to be a loyal listener. Interesting topics. Bottom line is this. All the aspects of geopolitics, economics, social aspects that are at play with China, yes, in particular U.S. But
you have to get yourself a little closer to the phone. We can hear you. Okay. Thank you. This is much better.
All right. There you go. So my question is this. When
it happened again.
Yeah, you got to turn your radio down, John. That's the problem.
My question is this. China go to war to defend its principles. Very outlandish. very situation that one would not even think about. But in a sense, we are almost repeating the era of the 20s and 30s, only with slightly different players and maybe slightly different factors. But bottom line is, are they willing to go to that end state if they're forced to it?
Well, it's an interesting question. I assume the first part of your sentence was dropped out.
Yeah.
I assume you're talking about China itself?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So is China, if push comes to shove, if we end up, in a situation like we had in the Second World War and China's one of the participants, will they go to war with us?
Well, just look at the situation
Who
in
is the
Taiwan.
enemy?
Look at Taiwan.
Yeah. So do you think if China invaded Taiwan, United States will have to fulfill our obligations?
Well, it depends, because, it depends on the administration.
That's
Because
right. Not
some-
Biden, definitely.
No. I mean, I know they have claimed that, of course, they maintain that China is a red line, et cetera, et cetera. As you can see, that right now, freedom of the seas navigations are continuing ongoing. But the other part of that, too, is that, it might be too early, too preemptive for them if they don't want to see many of their plans completely destroyed too early. And so, but eventually, at some point in time, countries then begin to balk, having to face some of these challenges. But it depends on what certain conditions. But every country has then to make that determination. What will I do? To what length will I go in order to defend what I believe in? That's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, it is, but it's a good question. We appreciate
Excellent question.
We appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you, John.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I think in order to prevent that scenario happen, we should decouple our economy from China.
Yeah.
So strength. Peace with strength. We have to build a strong economy for ourselves. We don't rely on them. If we are strong enough, we never have to put ourselves on that spot.
Sure. John, we appreciate the call. I cut him off because his phone was starting to go wonky on us a little bit. So, we can't control cell phones. It's either a good cell tower connection or it's not.
Yeah.
Let's go to Bill in Santa Cruz. You're on China Uber Alice.
Hi, I would like to quickly recommend a movie you may have seen, but if you haven't, it's well worth watching. What made me think of this movie is the talking about America matching wits with China and the recent installation of Joseph Robinette Biden as the president. And the name of that movie it's a great laugh, Idiocracy.
Okay.
All right.
Idiocracy. It's about 10 years old, and it's a blast, but it's too true.
Mm-hmm.
You watch that movie, and then you start thinking of events, and it fits.
Well, Bill, we appreciate the recommendation. Thank you. All right, let's take our last break of the show, and we'll be back to wrap up this edition of China Uber Alice in just a moment. Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared, twice daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
On the lot at Chevrolet of Watsonville. Hello folks, Michael Olson here with Melvin Cooper, the owner of Chevrolet of Watsonville. Melvin, people laughed at you when you took ownership of Watsonville's sad little Chevrolet dealership over a decade ago. I heard them myself, but you built Chevrolet of Watsonville into a sparkling example of what a local car and truck dealership can be. How did you do it?
Well, Michael, we became a part of the community. We merely just went to work every single day with the vision and hope of building a bigger business and offering more value to the customers in our community. We invested in our community and ourselves and continuously trained and improved and developed. We listened to our customers' feedback and areas that we can improve, and we've continuously been improving for nearly 13 years here now. We've been awarded the best dealership in the community, and we've continued to build on that momentum.
Folks, see how he did it for yourself at Melvin Cooper's hands-on, no-pressure dealerships on Watsonville's Auto Road.
Hi, folks. This is Stephanie from Ben Lomond Market.
We're a family-owned and operated full-service market here to meet all the needs of you and your family, offering old-fashioned meat department, a full-service deli with homemade hot and cold quality selections for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Freshly baked cakes, cookies, breads, along with locally baked gourmet goods for those looking for a special dietary needs such as gluten-free or sugar-free. We have it. A full assortment of conventional and organic fruits and vegetables, gourmet cheeses, local wines. We also do catering. Let Mill Street Catering Events take care of all of your food preparation. Ben Lomond Market, here to meet all the needs of you and your family. Local people, local products, a family tradition since 1946. Thank you for shopping with us at Ben Lomond Market.
Our store hours at Ben Lomond Market are Sunday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
KSCO has some of the most intelligent listeners on the planet, and most intelligent minds want to know, what are my options for taking Social Security benefits? Do I need an estate plan? When, where, and how do I enroll in Medicare? If you want answers to these and other hot financial topics, listen to Money Moves. Host Pamela Fugit-Hedrick and her guests have tips and tools you'll need so you can manage your money effectively. That's Money Moves, 7 p.m. Thursdays here on KSCO.
Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito. A couple of minutes walk to the ocean at 830 41st Avenue in Pleasure Point. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, this is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Kaito.
Well, we've covered a lot of topics today on the program. We have time for one more call. Krishna has called in, and let's see if I push the right button. Krishna, you're on China Uber Alice.
Hi. Can you hear me well?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
All right. Are you Bill Graff by any chance?
I am indeed. At least I was this morning.
Glad to meet you, Bill, but I knew you were somehow. Well, the reason I call is precisely because you are Bill Graff. You have a couple of Chinese folks there, and this one is Indian. The two worst polluters on planet Earth. And I wanted to tell, and I'm sure they know this already, the rest of the world of America, is that you epitomize what the naivete of Americans vis-a-vis the Chinese, the Indians, and all the other third world countries. You don't understand the depth of cynicism of all the peoples and their leaders of this country that comes from the fact that they've had such lousy, miserable lives. That kind of cynicism born of this kind of life, the Americans will never be able to understand. You go there like good little boys and good little girls. You get the hell spanked out of you. Come back here and they go on their merry way. Well, I've been listening to you, Bill, and your program for months and months and months, and I thought, I've got to tell them this. I've got to tell them this.
I appreciate you.
There, they do.
I appreciate you letting me know that. Krishna, we're out of time completely.
Thank you for calling. I just want to say one thing. Yes, American government. I think to work with Indian government, it's
a good idea.
It's a good idea because Indian, it's a democratic country.
KSCO Santa Cruz.